Um, Now today, I was watching a documentary that came with or a video production that came with the title Seven Pillars of the Devil or something. Then the presenter was talking about 7 places on the earth where it is believed there are negative energies coming out of them. In his presentation, though he had mentioned 7 portals, he only spoke about one, which is somewhere in the Middle East, or somewhere in the Middle East around the Uruk, the ancient Uruk area. Uruk, now, for those who don't know, is a town that was built by a famous king who can be found in some of the ancient scripts. The king was called Gilgamesh, and that there are some people who think that Gilgamesh might have been Nimrod of the Bible. Nobody really knows. Okay. So the story goes, now Uruk was one of the cities that were built by the king, but it will seem that Uruk was really a central area. Now, concerning the pillars of energy, the person who was making the presentation started talking about incidences where the people who are currently living in the area were reporting attacks from a being that looked kind of supernatural, and they were claiming that the being was killing people. So now, it reminded me of incidences that happened in Africa. There's a time that the government was constructing a road, and the road was going through a forest. And as it went through a forest, some few trees, some of them which were ancient, some of them which were used as shrines, will be felled to make way for the construction of the road. Now, one of the people that lives in the area came out and actually spoke to the media and said, he basically just cautioned the government that if you insist on building a road in this place where there is an ancient shrine where the recent ancestors and even the current people of the area, because it was a known place, some of the modern dwellers of the area identify the area as a shrine. So this person said that if you proceed with this project, it may lead to accidents in the future along this path, because it's an invasion of this shrine, and it would lead to accidents which will be as a result of the spirit that was inhabiting that area attacking basically the vehicles that will be passing there. So I'm bringing this story in relation to the story of Uruk, which is currently, I believe it's the Afghanistan, Kurdistan region, the Western region there. So what I'd like people to understand is that the ancients, including the generation of the Gilgamesh generation, the generation of the pre-Adamic and even the Adamic generation, these are people or beings that had shrines in certain places. Now, speaking of the Uruk area, the people of the area described the thing that was attacking them as something that looked kind of human, but the hands were disproportionate. And this is something that you will find if you read ancient scripts, specifically scripts that talk about the period just before the disaster that struck the earth. Especially if you could find the book of the Colbrin. The Colbrin talks about it's a collection of several scripts which were written to the sons of fire. So they refer to a time when something in the heavens passed, then some giants were born on the earth, and also children who had disproportionate limbs were born. Now, connect this to the ancestral worship, where you will find that such a being will end up having an elevated status, perhaps in generations of the future, who will create a shrine for that being. Or it could be that it wasn't a shrine per se, but it could be that this being, in its time of living, it had some form of authority over that area. Maybe that's where their house was, that's where his compound was, that's where his inheritance, so to say, was. So when the time of destruction came, this spirit associated that place with his territory. And as people come to invade, the spirit is taking it personally. Now, regarding this story of the Uruk area, there are soldiers, which were Western soldiers, I think it was maybe American soldiers, that were stationed in the area, had these reports, and they say that one day they had an experience where they noticed that there was a being that was just a few meters off their compound. They went to check it out, and in their own words, this is the testimony that I got from this video I watched. In their own words, this was a being that seemed like it wasn't there, meaning it was a supernatural being getting visible on this plane, yet becoming, they say he did not show any temperature signatures, it was the same temperature, and he could appear and disappear in it. The other thing that they also say is that they observed it for hours until it just vanished in the air. Now, this is an example of a spirit that probably had some kind of, it was energized maybe by worship, or maybe it was just a being that was from a line of, that had exerted authority in that era. If you check some of my videos, there's one video that I'm referring to the kinds of spirits that we need to be aware of, and some of them, okay, we actually don't need to be aware of all of them, because the earth has existed for billions of years, and in these billions of years there have been several living beings that have inhabited, and after 12,000 years they get destroyed. Another group of being emerges, 12,000 years they get destroyed. Another group of being emerges, 12,000 years they get destroyed. After 700,000 years there's even greater destruction. And this element of destruction and creation is a recurring theme in most of the historical, what people call myths now, I consider history, in my opinion. But you will find a consistency in every culture of the cycle of destruction and reemergence, destruction, reemergence, destruction, reemergence, until when the Bible introduces Adam and introduces Noah and introduces the flood, and then you see that's a story of a destruction and a reemergence. So some of the places that people live used to be cities that were inhabited by beings that some of them had been manipulated genetically, some of them, because it's written in the Bible that when the sons of God descended upon the earth, they corrupted the daughters of women. In the book of Enoch, it's written that they corrupted men, and they also corrupted animals. They corrupted animals, they corrupted fish, they corrupted birds. So my understanding of corruption, when I see that word corruption, it could mean intermingling and mixing genetic material, or it could just be genetic modification, where which is happening even in our era right now, where DNA from a spider is inserted in an animal to make it give it more milk. You'll find the DNA from a plant is inserted in a human being, or DNA from here. This is the concept that is referred to in these ancient scripts and in the Bible. So in those days, and if you read the script of Enki, speaks about the first descendant angels, or they call themselves Anunnaki in that text. If you read that text, they call themselves Anunnaki. So you find a concept whereby they're mixing themselves with animals that were inhabiting the earth, and also they mix themselves with the dwellers of the earth. And they describe in detail, which probably there might have been some modern language used, but the concept was people were mixed with animals, the people were mixed with the angels, and this is basically what the earth has been doing. So some of them became destructive beings, especially the animal versus human mixes, that some of them would terrorize territories. And you will find, even after their destruction, remember, living beings have a spirit, and where does this spirit of this animal that has been corrupted go after it is destroyed? The book of Enoch says that regarding the corrupted humans, that because you're part human, or because you have an origin from humanity, then after you perish, you will remain on the earth as evil spirits. So it's the same concept. Remember, you're dealing with multi-generational spirits, so they could be there for a variety of reasons. They could be a shrine, there could be a spirit that is just feeling dispossessed. Basically, I doubt in the concept of pillars, although you never know the purpose of things like the pyramids, but for this one, I think the explanation is just possession by ancient spirits or shrines getting out of hand, of getting the spirits that ruled over them becoming destructive and possessive of the areas that they inhabit.